Hello guys and gals, my name is DividableHalo HD. Welcome back to another interview. Today we are joined by Z4BROS or Vast Contagion. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty swell, pretty
Yeah,
good.
I'm interviewing you, huh?
Oh yeah,
No, I'm joking.
change of topic. But yeah, anyways, today we are going to be interviewing Vast Contagion or Z4BROS. I'll be referring to you as Z4BROS throughout the rest of this interview, since that's how that's how I know you well. So, when did you first join the Halo Clan community?
So, it goes all the way back to Halo 3. I didn't really necessarily join the Halo clan community. I was more so in a clan with a couple of my family members, which are still in my clans today. I led a small clan on Halo 3 called Spartan Reconnaissance Operations. We didn't know what raids were. We didn't know any other clan besides ourselves. Um, and we literally just played soccer against each other. Like that's what our combat method was. And then when we got Reach when it came out, I was really excited since Halo 3 was really my first real Halo. I had played Halo CE and Halo 2 at my friends' houses before, but I had just gotten my Xbox and I got Halo 3 ODST and Halo 3. So I was really excited since this was my first Halo game that was released while I was able to play it. So uh, here I am with a couple of my family members just playing matchmaking and stuff. Because that's the reason why my gamer tag is Z4BROS, because I have three other brothers, so that's four brothers in total. And we all played split screen, which we can't do on Halo 5 anymore, but usually if you saw me on Reach, I'd probably have at least one guest. So we were just playing matchmaking one day, and I got contacted by a Sangheli clan, which was my first real clan besides the one that I had led on Halo 3. So I joined the clan. I knew nothing about clans, and basically I was like a bitch, pretty much. Like I was a really young kid. Wasn't. I didn't know anything about clans, so I just remained silent. And basically, I was a minor in the clan the whole time I was in there. And while they would have meetings inside of their little base, there would be a group of us huddled outside that were minors that weren't allowed into the building because we were minors, and they would send out guards to watch us to make sure that we didn't leave. And that was basically my whole time in that Sangheli clan. It was called Sangheli Regiment Fleet. It was led by Answer Gabori, or how I don't know how to pronounce the name. I don't know how to pronounce many elite names, but yeah. So that was my first clan, Sangheli Regiment Fleet. Do you want me to continue or?
Uh, so yeah, you pretty much were in the communities for Halo Reach as well, right?
Yeah.
All right. So when was the first time you actually kind of got involved with the main part of the community, like the military or role play part of the community?
Yeah, so after this is late 2010, early 2011 when I was in SRF estimated. Pretty much between 2010 and 2012. I don't really have a good memory of the time frame, but I remember all the clans I was in. So after I left SRF, I decided, me and my cousin, that we would go see if we can join a human clan, because obviously if there were elite clans, then there had to be humans. So we contacted one of the clans that our elite clan had faced, since we primarily did BTB. I was never in the starting lineup because I was garbage at the time, still kind of am. But so we basically we were in this custom game. I'm pretty sure it was some type of assassination or D-Day or some type of game where it was just an open lobby. And I met a guy named X Demonic 15 who was the leader of WRC, World Retribution Clan. Um, Most people know him as WRC Blood King. I can't remember what his right now what his gamer tag is, but I know he's starting up a new clan pretty soon. But I joined WRC and I made my way up, and from my recollection, I was leader of some type of squad or some type of division in the WRC at the time. And eventually, I got in a conflict with the leadership, and I decided that I was going to assassinate the vice president and leave and join the clan that we were at war with, which was Brothers in Arms, led by Al Survive. Um, and he was the leader of the BIA. We weren't really a huge clan. If anybody is interested in hearing my really squeaky voice, just search up BIA meeting, DividableHalo or something like that on YouTube, and you can find a meeting where I'm in it, and then I talk at the very end. And basically, I'm just saying that I don't really want to go against my old clan because I'm a little bit scared of them, but I didn't tell him that at the time. But you can definitely go look up that video, and you can see my voice when I was really squeaky. And I was very loyal to that clan. And funny thing is, today I'm still coming across people who are in clans. Like, for example, I'll get to this later into the interview, but when I joined Exodus recently, I met a guy named Cairo Pyro, and I had him blocked. And he's like, and I had no clue because I don't usually block people. Like, it's very rare for me to block people. And it turns out he was in the WRC, like, during the conflict, and I was probably ordered to block him, or I just blocked him or something, because I was extremely loyal to the BIA. So I was in the BIA up until November of 2012 when Halo 4 came out. And then basically BIA hated Halo 4, so much so that they were on it for about a week, maybe a month, and they decided that that wasn't the game for them. It fell, moved to PC, and I was pretty much abandoned, so I went back to Reach. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So back on Reach, I'm pretty much like stranded. I have no like contact because while I was in WRC and BIA, I really had no political presence or no political power in these clans. So like I had no idea what was going on in the community. I had heard names like General JB, like Shadow Sniper, like Sentry Strike. I just had never come in contact. I never knew truly about it, just like from word of mouth. Like while we were screwing around in the lobby, I would hear that name thrown around every once in a while about assassinating them or whatever it might be. So here I am. I go back to Reach around 2012 or 2013, and until about 2014, I was just making these really small clans that I have no clue what they were called, really stupid names that did absolutely nothing besides like energy sword like tournaments and like big team battle on matchmaking and invasion. Like we really didn't do anything. It was just full of my in real life friends. I had no connections with the community at all. And then I got into GTA around the end of 2014 when I met somebody named Theo Rocks My Socks. And it turns out that Theo was the leader of the Halo clan, which was called Extermination. They were at war with the Imperium at the time, at the beginning of 2014. And immediately I got an officer position in the clan because in comparison to the other members, I was very coordinated when it comes to leadership because even though I wasn't experienced leading in a military clan, I was very experienced with clans in general. So I immediately became the leader of the Navy, I think it was, and the Navy was by far like the best division in that clan. And we were doing raids against the Imperium, and I honestly can't even tell you the result. I'm pretty sure we just lagged out and we called it a win because the whole game lagged out and we took control of the base or something like that. But eventually we met a clan called WPX, which is Wolfpack Extreme. And at the time, WPX or Wolfpack Extreme was led by Adverse Strafe or WPX Director at the beginning of 2014. He was the leader of the Reach division because WPX is a huge community as a whole, and they're not only just on Halo Reach. So I joined WPX after we raided them because basically I didn't agree with the outcome of the raid. Like my side was saying that we won, but their side was saying that they won, and I agreed with the other side because that's just kind of the person that I am. Like if somebody else wins a raid, then they won the raid. That's it. Like I wasn't a sore loser. Like that's just kind of how it was. And I realized that I had a huge argument with the other extermination members, and I decided that I was going to join WPX. So during UPX, I wasn't in there for very long. I got a whole bunch of contact with the people, and I realized how corrupt Adverse Strafe was while I was in the clan. And I was in it for about a couple of days, and I was approached by, sadly, Marshak. And Marshak comes to me, and he's like, "Hello, Mr. Z4BROS. I have an opportunity for you, okay? So here's me. I had known nothing about the community. I'm like, hey, this guy's probably pretty powerful in the community. You know, I better follow him." So I trust him at the time, no, because I was a fucking dumbass. And here I am, like listening to Marshak and following his orders and stuff, doing whatever he um, was wanting me to do to WPX director, and basically I was able to internally, I was able to overthrow WPX director um, after I had left the clan, just because of how much. Okay, hold on, I missed a step. Okay, so while I was in WPX, I decided to start a rebellion in hoping to overthrow WPX director. It failed, and I started up a clan called United Federation Corps. And UFC, I know it's called UFC, which is the main reason why I hated the name, was because it was UFC, like the fighting or whatever, boxing, wrestling, I don't know what it is, but um, yeah, and this clan was started from a rebellion that was from WPX and two clans merging into me. And those two clans were Extermination merged into me and Golden Eagles merged into me. And some people are like, Golden Eagles, I think I remember that name. And that was Commando Ark's clan, Wolverine 653. He helped create the UFC with me. I was the primary leader. He was the recruiting. He was like the leader of the recruits or some shit. Like, because I knew that he was pretty like stupid at the time, but he was a great recruiter, and he still is. I mean, you can't deny that fact that he can recruit like crazy. And even though he recruits primarily people that don't speak English, don't that have a Connect mic, or just don't even have a mic at all, they're still recruits, and that's what we needed at the time of UFC. So okay. So yeah, we declared war on WPX in hoping to overthrow WPX director, since obviously WPX director was in charge, or Adverse Strafe was in charge of WPX at the time on Reach. So I contacted all the WPX head, and we eventually raided WPX and beat him. And once WPX admitted that it was a defeat, and he realized that UFC was generally better than the WPX on Halo Reach, he decided to demote director and kick him out of the clan. So it was successful in the fact that we were able to defeat WPX, which is a huge clan, and it was a huge success at the time. But I ended up ending UFC because WPX director, I'm pretty sure he hired or he convinced or something, he got Finity to go after UFC, and most of our members were network manipulated and into the fact where I decided it wasn't safe for me to lead a clan anymore. And at that point, I joined the UGN, which the UGN was a huge clan at the time in 2014. They had huge media presence. They were pretty much the biggest military clan at that time. I think that was also the time when Isliosaurus UK led his clan, if I remember correctly. But anyways, so around this time, I'm starting to get a little bit more context. Like, I'm still, like, after I end UFC and join UGN, I'm still relatively good friends with Marshak. So I've attended a couple of community meetings with him, and that's where people associate myself and Marshak. That's where they get confused. Because I was pretty much like his right-hand man for maybe a week or two. And then I met maybe Michael, who, when I joined the UGN, he's like, okay, you're the kid that is with Marshak, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, what's wrong with Marshak? And then he enlightened me. He was like, I'll show you the world. I'll show you the real world. And this is why Marshak's a faggot, okay? And then he explained me everything, and it took me like an hour to realize that this Marshak guy was pretty much just a troll. And at that point in time, I had a better understanding of the community, the clan community as a whole, not as much as I do right now, but I had a much better understanding of how things were in general when it came to clan community politics. So, like, the next clan that I joined was Arcadian Nation, and that was also led by maybe Michael after he ended the clan, or Arc Legendary, I think his gamer tag was at the time. But like, I'm sure that, like, on a side note, I'm sure I'm missing some clans, but these are just the significant, like, turn of events in my clan career in 2014. But eventually I end up leaving AN and creating my own clan, which was United Republic of Reach. This is the first clan on Reach that had a media, and it's still up today. It's really bad quality because Theo, who's the leader of Extermination, helped me create it, as well as Wolverine. Pretty much the same people from URR or UFC helped me create URR, just under a new name and a new structure. I think he still leads it today, but I don't know. He changes it every single day. Uh, Obviously, I didn't give him permission. He just does whatever he wants on Reach. I could honestly care less what goes on Reach in 2016, to be honest with you. So, as far as back to my history goes, so we led the URR for a while, and that was a huge success, in my opinion. Like, we were able to grow extremely large, and we went into a couple of conflicts where I think there was even a time where we had a huge rebellion in the clan. Like, we had a roster, and one of our leaders um, decided to remove like me from power in the roster and take all the members and send them messages trying to poach them. And eventually we did fall and merge into the UGN again. And you'll notice the trend of like how my clans, when they ended, they went into UGN at the time, because that was kind of like my bigger brother at the time. Like, they were kind of the clan that would like look after me because I was a smaller clan, and it was kind of part of their strategy too. Like, UGN would alliance with all these small clans that had potential, and when they fall, there's nowhere else to go, so they just go to their big brother and they join their clan. So that's why UGN was such a large clan at that time, and that's why it was so successful, because it would just engulf all these clans that were falling around them because they were the most sturdy at the time, even though they did go through a lot of changes. So I eventually leave the UGN, and in both times that I was in the UGN, I was high ranks, and I do remember a lot of really good times in the UGN, because there was a lot of people that I do like and I still like today, even though the UGN is now ARC or Apex Union, and they recently fell because he no longer plays Xbox One for a mysterious reason. But anyways, after I left UGN, I created a clan called New Coalition of Reach, and in this clan, it was pretty much just a huge-ass clan that was composed of like 6 squads, and each squad ran itself like a clan, which is an inherently like a big problem, because these clans eventually just like left my clan because they could do that, since they had their own names and stuff. It was weird. And eventually, I go ahead and start up a UNSC clan, my first and last UNSC clan. It was called NavLogCom, Naval, or it was something Logistical Operation Command, or something like that. So I start that up, and eventually we change our name to Third World Army. And this is also when, around the time I met UN Director when I was leading UFC, but UN Director finally does join my clan in NavLogCom, and I didn't know, or in Third World Army, and I didn't know it was him until it was too late. Otherwise, I wouldn't have like let him in. But he was really high up in the ranks. I'd say he was probably even second in command of Third World Army. And Third World Army has been the biggest clan I've ever led so far. It peaked at 120 something members. I think it was 21 members. At the time, we were pulling lobbies, like 2 or 3 lobbies a day, and we were able to do this just because we literally had like no basic training. It was just straight into the clan, straight into raids. And keep in mind, this is all 2014. Like, 2014 was like literally the year where I created so many different clans. Like, what is this now? Like, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th clan of 2014. So like, eventually, Third World Army falls because I lose my internet because I move to another house for 2 weeks. UN Director takes control of the clan, leaves the clan, poaches all the members, then ends his clan like 3 days later because UN Director's clans never last. And then I come back, and there's like literally nothing left besides like a couple of members, because all these members were like fresh recruits, because how I got my members was off of screenshots. Since I'm like in real life, I'm a huge photographer, so I was able to take like really nice screenshots, and I still do today. And that's where I got most of my members, through the file browser, which I do sincerely miss from Reach. But after this, I get together a whole bunch of people, and this is the beginning of the Plague, and this is the clan that I'm most known for, the Plague. And I can remember most of its history. So would you like me to go into the plague? Uh,
Let's kind of yeah, sure. Let's start with the let's go into Plague.
all right. So the plague started around October, late October in 2014, and this is after I returned from being gone. And at this time, I have a lot more like I have a lot more context in the community, and I know a lot more people. I'm in the community chats on Kick. I'm in the community chats, and I've been in community meetings, so people kind of recognize my name. They don't know who I am, but they recognize me kind of like they've seen me before. So I decided to start up the plague with a group of members like Party VG and Team Fromen and Nate, a whole bunch of people, and I started up plague. This was also the time that MCC was released, and this is huge because this is kind of like what made Plague what it was. So when MCC was released, Plague stayed on Reach for the MCC release, and this was huge for us because, for one, this was nearing the start and end of the Spartan United War, which we had a war against a clan called Spartan United. I think they changed their name to Epsilon Fleet or Epsilon Command, one of those two, which was led by what was his name? Fairy Tail. Yeah, it was led by Fairy Tail O. And Plague was able to successfully defeat the clan, even though we started out with about 20 people and they had about 100. And at the end of the war, they had about 5 and we had about 80. And the reason for this is because we literally like poached the shit out of that clan. Like we exposed them, we sent spies into their clan, we just completely destroyed them from the inside and out. And they eventually went to hide on MCC, where they eventually fell and never returned. And I think they actually are. Actually, I think they are still around, but they're not a military clan anymore. They're a competitive team. I think it's like Aeon Esports or some shit. But they're really bad. Anyways, so this was also the time that MCC was coming out, like I kind of said earlier. So all of these clans were moving to MCC while I was still on Reach. And really the big clans at the time that were on Reach were the Plague and Exodus. Like those were the only 2 clans that were relatively big, that were relatively known on Reach at the time. But we never really crossed paths until a little bit later, which I'll explain in a second. So like we were getting all these members from HiCom, from UGN that didn't have an Xbox One that wanted to join the Plague. And this was huge because these were all experienced leaders. These were all experienced people with clans, more experienced than me when it comes to politics. So I was introduced to all these people, and we were able to run a very successful clan on Reach after MCC had come out because we were literally like the top dog. We were like vultures almost. We were preying off of the dead. We were stealing all these members that were left behind, and we were able to succeed. So around Christmas time, fast forwarding a whole lot, in December, I finally meet Exodus, and I meet Shaky Divine. And we discuss, and I don't know if many people know this, but originally the plan was for me, 99th Regiment, and Exodus to create a triple alliance superpower that would be declaring war on a whole bunch of different clans to spark a whole bunch of different activity. I think some of the clans were like UGN and like BA and things like that, because around Christmas time, all these clans that moved to MCC realized that MCC was such a bad game, and they were starting to move back. So clans like UGN and clans that were larger were starting to move back to Reach slightly. So we decided to start a conflict, and before we were able to declare war, I got an Xbox One for Christmas. And this was a huge conflict because I had to get rid of my 360 at the time to get the Xbox One. So it was a huge sacrifice. And basically, this was a really rough patch for Plague because I tried to move the clan to MCC like prematurely because I wasn't really expecting to get an Xbox One for Christmas. And we moved to MCC once all of these clans were moving back. So like if you notice the trend, we were very good on Reach when there were no MCC clans, or when the MCC clans were moving on and there were no very like big clans. And then we moved to MCC when all the Reach clans that moved to MCC were moving back to Reach, if that makes any sense. So, like, essentially, we were kind of known as the vultures of the community because we would just prey on, like, the dead. And so when we moved to MCC, all these people that were abandoned by clans that went back to Reach joined us when I did start up Plague. But that's a little bit further down the road, because when I go to MCC, there was a time period that we decided as a clan, we had a full lobby together, and we decided that we were going to go dark for a couple of months to adjust to MCC and to adjust to the community, and that way we'd be able to rise and create a very strong clan. So we agreed on that, and I ended up joining Special Forces, which Special Forces at the time was led by Bionic, or Shaky Bionic. He was pretty much the biggest clan in the MCC community right now, because most of the clans had moved back to Reach. Most activity was on Reach at this time. I mean, even Halo 4 had a little bit more activity than MCC at the time, and pretty much Bionic was ruling over the community, and so many different clans were forming coalitions to go against him. He was pretty much like the enemy, the number one enemy of the community, but he was keeping it kind of alive. So I joined the SF, and I joined, and I was there for a little bit. I learned a lot about MCC. I was able to meet some people, and eventually I decided to leave and start up my clan, the Plague. We decided to come back. We were doing very well on MCC, and we even made an alliance with SF, and we were helping them against the coalition of clans. And then SF ended up falling because of constant rebellion. Like, the reason why they fell was because they wouldn't listen. And I know that might sound weird, but I would send Bionic so many different warnings about these specific people that he should have been watching out for, but he didn't listen to me, and he was put too much trust into the wrong people in his clan, and it led to so much internal conflict that there was just rebellion after rebellion, and so much internal shit that they just ended, and SF joined into Plague. And this didn't last very long, because he tried to start up the clan like while appearing offline, and he was filming a recruitment video. So on the Xbox One, you can tell activity. It doesn't matter if you're online or offline. And I was looking at his activity feed, and I was like, he joined my clan after, like, he was taking these videos after he had joined my clan, but I don't recall ever authorizing him to use the people. And it turns out he was in a lobby of his ex-members just appearing offline, and he was using Plague as kind of like a shield so that these other clans wouldn't attack us, because at the time, the clans weren't scared of SF, they were scared of Plague, because they had heard of what we were doing on Reach, and they knew that we were a large clan on MCC. So, like, eventually I kicked out Bionic from the clan, because he was essentially starting a clan inside my clan, and I was in fear that he would start to poach my members, which was a pretty big problem. And we were talking about starting up an alliance, and at this time it's kind of like tense in the air because of what he just did, or what he tried to do. And so, like, we're already kind of on tense terms, and one of the leaders that betrayed him previously, which was Red Vendetta, he joins Bionic's clan, and Bionic gives him, like, vice president, or, like, leader of the Navy, or some shit like that. And then he turns around, because I was the one that was warning Bionic about him, like, doing a rebellion, and he ended up doing it, which ended the clan previously. So I was like, Bionic, you can't do this. You can't let this guy into the clan. And this was in front of Red Vendetta. And then Red decides to threaten to hit me offline, which was a pretty, like, big thing for me since of the whole Finity situation. And, like, as far as how I treated that, I just took that, like, to heart. I'm like, Bionic, you're really gonna let your members, like, threaten to hit me offline in front of you and do nothing about it? Because that's what he did. He just let it happen. Like, he let his members start talking shit to Plague, and I wouldn't let that happen. So I decided to just say, hey, let's not do the alliance. I don't want to get a conflict with you. This is we might do an alliance down the road, but I don't feel like it's going to be appropriate. So I just stay neutral. And the clans are still attacking them. This coalition of clans, which was like UPR, ROC, Valhalla Dragons, all these clans that were big in the NCC community besides SF were in this coalition and attacking Bionic. So, like, I'm just kind of sitting back, and the coalition is trying to convince me to join them, and I'm still kind of iffy about it. And at the time, I also had Vigilante Zone in the clan, which is Aero Mortalis, Vigilante VGF. And Bionic asks him if he wants to join his clan in an attempt to poach. So I use this to my opportunity. I'm like, hey, he just made a huge ass mistake. So he poaches. I talk with Vigilante. We stage him getting poached into the clan. He gets like a general position in Bionic's clan. And we do a raid against Bionic, which is the first raid in the war, where while we are raiding the base, it's extremely OP. So I'm like, hey, Vigilante, I don't need you to betray right now, but if we get to the point where we can't take this base, I'm going to have you betray him. And about 30 minutes into the hour time limit, we were like, you know what, fuck it. Why not? Why are we wasting our time? Because the base was extremely OP, and he just betrays everybody. Plague declares war on SF for poaching members and network manipulation threats, and trying to start a clan inside of our clan. And we essentially join the coalition that's against SF, and we lead it. And at the end of the day, like, what happened was Plague completely carried the coalition. Like, we joined it, and literally we were the only one that did the raids. We would always raid Bionic. And at this point in time, I had so many people, so many friends inside of SF, and so many spies that I had placed in there, that it was literally insane. Like, I baited him into poaching members. I baited him into accepting my spies into his clan. And while I didn't need spies to beat him in a raid, it was pretty hilarious to see how internally, like, his structure was just a complete failure. So almost every raid, there was somebody inside the base, whether they were my spy or not, that would just betray Bionic and kill everybody in the base. Like, there was even one raid where Bang Aussie, he's like, you know what, fuck this clan. And he sends me a message, and he's like, you'll thank me later, Z4BROS. And I'm like in the middle of the raid, and I was like, what is this supposed to mean? And then all of a sudden we see Bang Aussie like killing all the people, and we're like, what the hell? That's not even planned. Even though we had somebody else in the game that was going to do it, he did it anyways, and I'm like, okay. And then we just take the base. So I think the ending score was like 5 or 6-0. You can check on my channel for the in-depth report of that war, but I'm not going into way too extreme detail here on all my stories. Like, I'm missing out on some crucial points, but I'm hitting most of them. And eventually, after SF falls, after we destroy it, and LOA surrenders, because at the time they changed their name to Legion of Aegis at the very end of Special Forces, and we end up destroying his clan while Bionic is on vacation. So, like, Bionic goes in vacation in the middle of the war, and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, this is a perfect time to take advantage of this. So I contact all of the leaders, and the main leader of that clan at the time was A9 Crunch. And A9 Crunch was literally the heart and soul of this clan. And I get him to leave. It completely crumbles. The clan crumbles while Bionic's gone. He surrenders while he's on vacation. It's just a mess. And one of my guys just came back. Anyways, so when it comes to defeating SF, I'd say it was a really fun battle, and it was probably the most activity MCC ever has and ever will have. But it destroyed MCC. It destroyed the MCC community when Plague destroyed SF, because literally all community activity revolved around SF. Whether people like to admit it or not, there were clans like UAE and Orta on MCC, which they did form the Axis powers at the end of MCC. But like what ended up happening was they were just kind of neutral, and before Halo 5 came out, most of the Reach clans came to MCC. We did some community meetings, and then Halo 5 came out. Or wait, hold on, I missed a pretty big feature. So like after Plague defeated SF or LOA, um, we pretty much switched to competitive. And I don't know if many people know him, but we had L Destroy L and Team God in our clan, and we did some tournaments. We entered some MCC community tournaments. I think the farthest we got was semi-finals for an Iron Gaming tournament, which we turned into competitive like clan. All of our members were just doing GTA. We even did some GTA battles against like UUF and like Nav Spec War. I think that's what their clan was called. And eventually, when Halo 5 comes out, I decide to start up Plague again. I reassemble everybody and start up Plague on Halo 5. So, like,
All right. Can I just stop you right there before we get in depth with
yeah,
Halo
sure,
5?
go ahead.
All right. So basically, we could safely say that the war between the SF and Plague was probably the moment that kind of got you well known in the community. Am I correct?
Yes, and like partially because like this is when I started getting into media because I got an Elgato capture card and I started to use it around the time of MCC and using the game DVR on MCC. So I was able to broadcast this. And like the MCC community really wasn't like a place where you should get well known, but I was well known because I was the center of attention on MCC with SF, and it was because of my media that I was well known at this time in MCC. Yeah.
Now, I would say that around the time you kind of switched, because I'm looking at your channel right now, you were pretty much doing just normal clan operations and stuff for your Z4BROS channel. Now, you kind of switched over and digressed it into commentaries, probably during the response video Reach is Dying, which was a response video to mine, right?
Yep.
And yeah, as stupid as the conflict that we had there, you also talked about topics that were going on Reach, such as the SDA versus the Triad War, while you were pretty much having your conflict with the SF at the same time. So,
Yes.
what?
You want me to? Yeah. So like the whole Reach thing was kind of like my like side bitch thing. You know what I'm saying? Like MCC was my like primary focus, but like here we have this huge conflict. Like I mentioned earlier, how like I was supposed to be the third clan in the Triadics, like not the UUF. The UUF wasn't supposed to be in there, and neither was the HSC. They were just replacement clans for the Plague. Um, but what ended up happening was Triad was declared war on, I think, by the SD. I think that's how it went, and I was covering it from MCC, which was kind of weird. But I was covering it from MCC, and I was even in some of the raids on Reach, which it was kind of like my side thing that I was doing to draw people to my channel, as well as like you mentioned the Reach thing. I pretty much argued against you. I debated against you through using videos, which pretty much leached a whole bunch of viewers onto my channel. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah. All right. So, for this whole SDA and Triad War, what are your thoughts on it exactly? Because you pretty much covered it all, and I was technically also on Reach as well with the UF as well.
Yeah, so like I'm having to like dig through some cobwebs here in my memory to think about this. So like the SDA war like against the Triad, I feel like it was executed. I don't feel like it was executed that well. I feel like they pushed too much and like I feel like Divine and Navcom were like, "Oh, it's only for activity." Like everything is for activity. Like that's not the main reason why you declare war. I feel like it should have been more roleplay based. Like, hey, we're gonna go kill the Innies, and hey, we're gonna go kill the UNSC. Like it should have been like a canon based, like more roleplay type style. Where I wasn't a big fan of how it played out when it came to like, hey, we're only doing this war for activities, so you shouldn't really expect much more. Like I hated that whole aspect of the war, but I loved how long the raids were. That was hilarious. I think the longest one was what, like 48 hours before the server shut down, which luckily in Halo 5 it only reaches 6 hours, which I feel like is a great feature, a great addition to Halo 5.
Hmm.
The 6 hour time limit.
All right. So, basically, not only were you covering the war going on basically Halo Reach, you were also doing more commentaries. What kind of got you to do commentaries?
Yeah, so like at the time, I really did like to rant about certain topics. Um, and I noticed that there were some pretty inherent problems going on in the community at the time. Like the biggest one for me was like the community raid rules. Everybody was like, "Oh, hey, these are the community raid rules, and this is why I beat you in this raid because of the community raid rules." Like community raid rules never will and never have been a thing because the community is just way too large, and we'd never be able to agree on one set of rules for raids. So like I made the those commentary style videos mostly because um, I just wanted to rant and like give people my opinion, but also partially because I saw your videos and they were doing well. So I'm like, hey, why don't I just do this as well? Because like there's really no competition with your channel since you were pretty much the monopoly of like thoughts and opinions type thing. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be the opposing voice to this guy, and I'll be his competition. Which I do even think we were at like a conflict at one time when I think you were in Virus or something like that, and like you assassinated two of my supposed members on like matchmaking or something, and like posted the assassinations to the community
Oh
pages.
yeah.
And even though they weren't in my clan, I had never clue. I had no clue who they were, but they were in my uniform and in my ranking. But that I don't know. That was weird. And we were in a conflict for a little bit, especially with that Reach thing. But now we're all good with the SRO on Reach.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta say that I think I was pretty much joking with that part right there.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
definitely a pointless little conflict that we had. But uh, let's move on towards Halo 5 now. So Halo 5 comes around, and a lot of people are making the move to Halo 5, particularly the big clans such as Navcom, and I believe Exodus went on Halo 5 as well.
Hmm.
So, what were what were the clans that you seen that initially started on Halo 5 and kind of stood around as one of the top clans to this time?
So basically, you're just asking like what kind of like the top clans are like right now, in my opinion,
Yeah.
like that started from Halo 5. So like I definitely say that the top tier clans in the community are definitely Exodus and Navcom. They've been for like the past like uncontested for the past like year or so. And this is just because Navcom essentially owns like if I were to divide up I don't know how to explain this. Like they're just huge in the UNSC community and by far the best UNSC clan. And Exodus is by far right now the best military clan, and they have been just because of their sheer numbers and experience and leadership and structure. Those are definitely the top two clans that have been front with Halo 5 since the start. So when it comes to like the other clans, like there are a lot of clans that are very good. Like 99th Regiment is a very good clan. Um, Even UAE and Orta were very good before this war, but I mean during this war they pretty much crumbled under the pressure of Exodus and the UCA in general. And then we have huge up and coming clans that I'd like to give some shout outs to, like Terminus Dominion. I've been following them. They're very they've impressed me for the clan that because I joined their lobby and they escorted. It was a full lobby of their guys except for like me and like OG Rothug and Goody, and they escorted me to the base. And basically, I was just watching them have a meeting, even though it was in party chat and I was in game chat. They just escorted me to the base, and it was very like professional. And I was very surprised to see. And like many people are like, "Oh, hey, the Halo 5 community sucks" or whatever, but like the connection is not apparent. Like even though we have things like Facebook and Kick, there are still great clans out there like Terminus Dominion that are highly structured, large clans that just don't communicate actively with the Facebook and Kick chats, which I feel like people are like, "Oh, hey, the Halo 5 community is dead," which it's absolutely not. It's not inactive. It's just not connected. Like that's just my opinion. And I think some other clans that are doing a good job. If UFC is around, then they're definitely doing a. They were doing a good job during the UCA reconciliation. Who's also in the UCA was doing well. Therius recently started up, even though they're kind of a troll clan. They're decent. Some other clans There's just so many different clans that just aren't connected that I like to give shout outs to, but there's just way too many to name. I mean, recently I started up my clan, actually the day before we're filming this, which is the 27th. We decided to start up our clan. But yeah, that's pretty much what I think about top clans in Halo 5.
All right. Let's move on to basically how you started with Plague on Halo 5. Like, what's your story from there?
So, on Halo 5, um, Plague, which is weird because Plague was much larger than it was before Forge came out than we were after, which I don't know why that's a thing, but like it was. Like I don't know what happened where we stooped lower when Forge came out, but that's just kind of what happened. Like we were able to pull Warzone lobbies after Warzone lobbies after Warzone lobbies, and oh, I remember that's why. It was because when Forge came out, Exodus came back, and a lot of our members who were in Plague on Halo 5 were in Exodus on Reach. So a lot of them did end up joining Exodus back, which we lost a whole bunch of members from that. And that was the first Exodus into Exodus, which I'll explain into a little bit of why Plague ended up merging into Exodus. But that was the first of the Exodus into Exodus, which Exodus is like, I'm pretty sure it's like a large movement of people, or that's the official definition for, or one of the definitions, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so we end up getting pretty large, and we primarily do our own type of thing. And I mean, like, we were focused a lot on forging and doing things like that, and we were really waiting for a conflict to start. And this is where the Facebook pages get pulled in. um, which also, I think this was, I forgot this was before Forge came out. The whole FCC versus CNCC conflict. So, like, this is completely a conflict on Facebook. There was not one battle fought besides the Exodus raid where they completely raped Fotis. But I'll get into that in a second. So, the whole FCC versus CNCC conflict, which I'm sure you guys have seen DividableHalo's video on that. Basically, how it started was the main two Facebook pages at the start were the one that I led, which was the Halo Clan Community Hub, and the one that Ezra led, which was the Halo 5 Clan Community. And Ezra was a very corrupt admin. Like, he would ban people he wouldn't like. He would just delete all these posts that he didn't like. He didn't follow his own rules, and the rules that he even did have were just downright, like, terrible. Like, his definition, like, he says no bullying, and you kind of can't say, like, no bullying, because bullying is kind of like a vague term. Like, you can call bullying on pretty much just everything that people say on the internet. But, like, in my opinion, when it comes down to it, like, I'm completely against personal attacks and, like, racism and sexism and things along those lines. But when it comes to, like, trash-talking other clans, I'm completely down. Like, hey, your clan name sucks ass. You should, like, you need to get better colors for your armor. Like, things that are related to Halo are completely fair game, in my opinion. Like, I feel like it shouldn't resort to, like, racist remarks and, like, personal attacks, because it has nothing to do with Halo. And I hate when people do that, because it literally just means that they have nothing else to insult. But anyways, back to the FCC CNCC conflict before I go into another rant. I was banned from the Facebook page, and I make a big deal about this because, like, at the time, he was leading a clan called Fotis and Triple X Nation, which I don't know why he was leading two clans on the same game at the same time, but that's none of my business. So I one night get a message from Mikey Frederick, and he comes up to me and he's like, hey, I'm an admin of the page. Oh, voice crack, holy shit. I'm an admin of the page, and I've noticed that this page is hella corrupt, so why don't we destroy it? So that's what we did. I got Shaky Bionic, Shaky Divine, and a couple of other people, one Navcom guy, and were you there, Dividable, when we took down the page?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. I don't know why I thought you were, but there was a couple people from the community that were there, and we basically just took down the page. And one of the people that was there, it wasn't me, decided to post a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Uh,
Yeah, so yeah, my mic was unplugged for a second. Sorry about that. But yeah, so basically, we did end up like Ezra did end up forming like a coalition, which was called the CNCC after we took down the page and basically declared war on Plague. And this is where I was getting excited because I was like, yes, finally, community conflict, time to get into a war, rally the troops. So we were doing like war rallies and we were preparing for this war, building maps. One sec.
all right. I suppose he'll be back in a minute or soon. So I'm gonna pause this until he gets
All right,
back,
there we go. I got battery. Sorry about that.
or he could cut out again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm officially back. So, back to the CNCC FCC conflict. So I decided to create a coalition of my clans, which is the FCC, which was based around the name of FCC Won't Let Me Be, which is a kind of famous line from an Eminem song. That's what it was established from Rorschach.
It just seems that those batteries aren't working. He'll be back in a minute. All right, we are back. Z4BROS battery just died, but it's all right. We have that cut. So you were talking about pretty much the FCC and the CNCC war, and I believe you were talking about like Eminem and how you were inspired by the name or something like that.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, this was I think we decided on our name like I think this was all taking place like a week right before Forge came out. So we decided on the name. I think it was the Free Communication Coalition or something like that. And it was just basically against Ezra's coalition, which is the CNCC, because they declared war on Plague for taking down their community page. And that was the reason why. And the reason why we take it down, like I stated earlier, was because that they were corrupt and they were limiting free communication, like what the FCC coalition was fighting for. And the the coalition was literally a powerhouse of clans. We had all of the top clans in the community at that time. We had Exodus, Navcom, Plague. I think UGN was in there at the time. UPR and Principality of Zeons, and there was one other clan that I cannot remember for some reason. But I have the list somewhere. But anyways, we had the FCC, and literally like all these really great clans were in there. And we were going up against a list of 26 clans and 26 leaders, and every day it started to dwindle down because the mistake that I made was that I released the names of the FCC coalition. I should have just said, I'm making a coalition. I shouldn't have said, I'm making a coalition with blah, 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 because all these clans were scared of the clans that were in my coalition. So they all dropped out of the war before it even started. They're like, oh, hey, well, we were never even told that this was a war, which was like bullshit, because they were all informed of what was going on. So when it comes to like them backing out of the war, at the end of the day, the only clans that were left were Blood Angels, Fotis, and I think DNA at the time. So those were the only three clans that were with them, and then I think there was a couple more that were still kept secret, but that just means that they were hiding from the FCC. So yeah, like there was never a battle fought, and I went to Ezra, and we made an agreement, and we agreed that the FCC defeated the CNCC and that the CNCC would be destroyed, and we would continue the war as Plague versus Fotis, which never really happened. And as soon as we agreed on this. Exodus, we are about to raid them solo, but Exodus joins their game because they're already set up in the base. Exodus joined into the game and they raided Fotis, surprise raided them. And I hadn't let the UCA, or the, not the UCA, the FCC know that this war was over, and they went into the game, took the base, assassinated Fotis, and according to the ROE that Fotis was pushing hard to get, and the FCC agreed upon it, was that if the enemy clan leader was assassinated, then that coalition was destroyed. And we assassinated Fotis, and we took over the base, and we won the raid. So even if we didn't agree that the war was over, it would have been ended in that surprise raid anyways. Which I completely disagree with the assassination rule. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like assassinations should matter, but I don't think that they should be determining the end of a whole entire war. That was going off topic a little bit, but definitely like that was the end of FCC versus CNCC war, and then the Fotis and Plague war continued on its own, which at the end of the day it never really got the chance to continue because Fotis literally blocked me on Xbox, on Facebook, and so many of his members had blocked me that it was almost impossible to get in contact with Fotis to schedule any type of raids or anything. And then the war was going on; it was never officially ended. And eventually, when I do decide to merge into Exodus, Fotis comes out of nowhere after hiding for like 3 months or 2 months. Yeah, 3 months, I think. And he's like, "Oh, hey, we won the war." But like, I mean, technically they outlasted us, but there was really no war. I mean, they were hiding for like 3 months, just trying to outlast us. Like it, I don't know. It's whatever. I could really care less what they claim. But obviously, that was the FCC CNCC conflict. It wasn't. Gosh, that was weird. It wasn't really anything like conflict. We didn't have any conflict besides that one raid. It was more all talk. They were all talk.
All right.
Which, yeah, that's about it for the FCC and CNCC conflict.
Before we move on to basically what went on with Exodus, the UCA war, let's backtrack back to basically the Facebook and I guess the Facebook group in total. So
Okay.
I believe there was probably at least 2 dominant Facebook groups at the time, or at least only one. And the main initial one that was created was obviously by Leglink or Curve
Yes.
as well. Later on, there was another Facebook group that was created by myself called the Halo Clan Followers Official Halo Clan Community Facebook group. And
Yeah.
I believe you later created your own group, and it was the Hub chat. So I guess it was, I think it's safe to say those were the 3 main groups during the time of your creation. But
Yeah, like when I created it, the main one was official, led by Laglink, and then yours. And that's also when I created it because it was around the time that Navcom took over Kurt's page and destroyed it, in which he moved to a second page, which was originally the Master Chief Collection community, which he changed the name to it. But that was around the time that I started up. I think you were a little bit before I started up, and a little bit before Navcom started up. Took over Laglink's page. But yeah.
all right. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened there. Later on, obviously, you and me came to an agreement where we merged our groups together, or I merged mine into yours. Either way,
Yes.
we had the same group. But I think it was safe to say that Leglink's group is probably the one that has died down the most and
Yes.
not really
Completely agree.
relevant. And people that were actually on his group got banned, such as myself and maybe you. But
Yep, I'm banned from the page as well.
as well. So you ended up starting your group, and what was the main goals of your group exactly? Because I think it's safe to say that your rules are more lenient and flexible.
Yeah, so at first, like, I was very appealing to the common day troll because, like, the first original, like, set of rules that I had for the hub, because, like, The hub was originally a Kick chat way before I even was introduced to Facebook. Like as soon as Kick introduced the 50 people group feature, which was a very long time ago, I immediately started up the Halo Clan Community Hub and stole a whole bunch of hashtags because Kick used to have hashtags. And that's when I originally started the hub. But when I started it on Facebook, it was really to connect the community as much as possible and it was really against like censoring. Like I'm still to this day, I'm completely against completely censoring somebody's voice. I mean, if somebody is going to like break rules constantly, then they will be banned, and in a way, they will be censored. But that was their fault. It's like for breaking the rules that they knew and that they were warned about, because it's just fair. And no, I try as hard as possible not to give out any permanent bans because troll or not, everybody should really be heard just because that's how it is. Like I am a strong believer of like free speech and freedom of press and all that kind of stuff. Even though it doesn't really apply to Halo clans, I feel like it definitely should be a thing. Like I feel like the admins on the Halo clan community Facebook pages or admins in general of a group should try as hard as possible not to be biased, even though it happens sometimes, and not to like. I don't want a situation where somebody's the leader of the community and they ban the enemy clans that are against them, because that's just censoring the other side of the story. Because you can literally um, lose every single side like battle, but you could tell everybody in the community that you're winning them, and they'd believe you because they can only hear one side of the story. And I feel like that's completely wrong. There should always be two sides of the story, and people should pick and choose what side they'd like to believe in and what side they'd like to support. So that's the main reason why I started the hub in the first place. And the only rules at the beginning were no spam, no porn, and no gore, which eventually now it's evolved to more professional, even though it's not ever going to be completely professional, just because, for one, it's Facebook, it's a social media site. It's pretty hard to get professional completely on a social media site. And for two, just because of how kind of people act. But I try to get it as professional as possible by making rules like no personal life attacks, no posting other people's pictures, like no racism, no gore, that kind of thing.
All right, so you probably do have yeah, you have one of the biggest kick groups as well, since it initially is one of the first kick groups. Am I right?
Yes. So, like, it's safe to say that my group chat on Kick is probably the longest lasting community group chat and probably the main, like, central one that's led by you and I right now. Um, it's safe to say that it's the biggest and most active Kick chat on Kick, and probably even at this time Facebook, because Ezra's page has died down. I have on second accounts. Literally, the only people who post are his extreme followers, like people who die hard support him because of the lies that he sends out. But um, right now, it's safe to say that we are the central group for the community, and that's what I strive to achieve by connecting as many possible clans that we can.
All right, now there are a lot of trolls in the community, especially when it comes to social media such as Facebook and Kick.
Yes.
One Kick group that I'm going to say out there is pretty much run by FN, and as compared to your group and the other one, they have no rules whatsoever or something like that, which it just becomes a
Yeah.
point where there's like spam and constant insults, especially personal insults as well. Uh, what is it? Would you view your group? Shoot, I don't really have the right wording for it, but like for other groups such as like Leglinks, because Leglinks group was also a troll one. Would you say that yours is probably, I guess, the more official thing for everything about the Halo Clan community? Like you're the official establishment group for Facebook and Kick.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to think that, I'm sure that there are like other groups out there that we've never heard of that are still in the community and that are still participating. And I'd say in comparison to other groups, we're probably the most centralized. But I wouldn't really consider us a monopoly, and I never will consider us a monopoly, because there are other. I think the only other active group that I'd say is the Halo Reach Clan Community Hub, but that's not ran by me. That's ran by a whole bunch of Reach randoms. But um, it really like I really do like to think that we are the main, and it's mostly just because of our activity, and I don't know really of any other group that surpasses our member in the activity. So yeah.
All right. Now, in recently these last couple of days, I believe there were people that were also in your Facebook groups that are pretty much saying that your admin, or pretty much you and me, are corrupt or something like that. Saying that we
Yeah.
remove people and like the whole personal attack thing is stupid. What is your whole input on that?
My whole input with that is that like I deal with those people like every day. Like there's just that those type of stupid people that feel like they deserve a like that they get to like not follow the rules and not get punished for it because we have rules in place for a reason, and I've enforced them the same exact way for over a year now that we've implemented the new set of rules. And they act like something's changed, like something's different when I kick them or ban them, which I don't often like kick or ban people. It's usually because of three reasons. Number one is when they spam. Number two is when they post a whole bunch of porn. And number three is when they do a whole bunch of personal attacks, which has been happening recently. And a lot of people don't like the personal attack rule, but if they don't like it, then they can go ahead. Like, I'm not going to stop them from creating other groups. I mean, nobody's going to probably go to it. Um, but I mean, it's their choice. I mean, I will let people like FS or FN trash talk me or my page because I'm fine with that. That's free speech. They can do whatever they would like to do in my page as long as it follows the rules. Because I'm not, and I'm sure you're not completely biased against people who are against you when it comes to like if you're at war with them, then they should definitely have a voice in the community pages. Um, but when it comes to like breaking rules and stuff, I will enforce rules, even if we're on the same side alliances, even if we're at war, I will enforce the rules the same exact way when it comes to that.
All right. Now, because of your Kick group, your Facebook group, and your YouTube channel, people have been pretty much going around calling you a media whore or stuff like that. Do you know any reason why they're calling you that?
Yeah, it's primarily it used to be airless, but now it's BA Sanguinius. Those are really the main two people, and people like David Shepard, these like trolls and troll clan leaders. Um, Airless has improved, but BA Sanguinius and people like David Shepard and like FN try to say that as an insult, but I mean I don't hear it as much as I um expected. But I mean, they can call me whatever, and like I'm just doing my part in trying to connect the community as much as possible because I'd like the community to be more active and to be more connected when it comes to relationships with clans because we are a community for a reason. Like community, we need to we need to get together and participate in shit together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. All right. So I believe that is kind of what we're going to move on from media, and we're going to, I guess, digress to the war and you merging into Exodus. So I was there initially when you were voting to merge into Exodus. Do you kind of want to explain what was going on there?
Um, Merging into Exodus
Yeah.
or like the UCA. Do you want me to talk about the UCA conflict as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so like at the time, like this is after the FCC and CNCC conflict. The FCC disbands because we were literally like a task force put together to take down the CNCC. We weren't a permanent coalition; it was a temporary task force. After this, Plague Alliance made an alliance with Exodus, and we were very strong alliances at the time. And basically, what happened was that there was this conflict going on: the UCA versus the Axis powers. Which, believe it or not, the original clans were UNE and Advent versus Aegis, I think it was, right? And then Aegis brung in the Axis powers, which were UAE and Orta. And then later on down the road, 99, or actually, 99th joins the UCA, and so does Reconciliation. And then what happened was both sides were trying to convince Exodus and Plague to join because we were like a pair. Like whoever Exodus joined, Plague would join with them. Whoever Plague joined, Exodus would join with them. Like we were partners. Like so, when it came down to making the decision, the deciding factor was that Bionic had staged an assassination of Exodus when we were having a meeting for them to try to convince them to go into the Axis powers. So that kind of set us overboard. We joined the UCA and completely demolished the Axis powers. Aetherius ended up joining the Axis powers. But before the conflict even started, as soon as Plague joined, Plague internally, it was weird because earlier I mentioned the first Exodus into Exodus. Well, this was the second Exodus into Exodus. Like as allies, we were very closely connected. Like a lot of our members played together, and we lost a lot of our core members to Exodus just because they were more active and larger than we were. Um, they weren't necessarily poached, but we were just way too close, and we just decided at the end of the day, we put it through a vote, and we decided to merge into Exodus because most of our members were having an Exodus into Exodus anyway. So, like, we just decided to and Plague and merge into Exodus because we were going to fight the UCA or the Axis powers anyways. So we ended up doing that, and the Axis powers war is still going on today. With I think, do you know the current war record? Is it
I believe it's.
5
Oh,
to
it's definitely
2,
more than
6 to 2?
five. I'm pretty sure it might be
If
7
you
to 2.
include the raids that like they don't show up to, it's probably like 8 or 9 to like 2. Um,
Yeah,
but anyways, definitely the whole Axis powers and UCA conflict is probably the most recent conflict of all.
yeah. Now, sadly, this war it kind of picked up and then it kind of died down, and it picked up and died down quite a bit. So originally, I believe this war it was intended that the 99th Exodus and any other clan that was going to join was to remain silent until an ROE was decided upon, right? Well,
Yes.
at the beginning of the war, nothing really happened at all. Like, I was I was obviously the leading clan of the UCA at the time, and I attempted many times to actually schedule an ROE meeting. However, I was always pretty much ignored by Bionic myself, and it was not only until the 99th actually stepped in that the war kind of actually really had like a kickstart to it, where Exodus declared war like literally the next day because of an alliance between the Exodus and the 99th, right?
Yeah, like it was kind of a mess to be honest. Like we were all like, "Are you fucking serious?" Like these Axis powers guys, like they're all talk, they're talking about how good they are and shit, but they won't even show up to ROE meetings. They won't even make decisions. They won't even make final decisions because at the end of the day, they were like scared even with just a small amount of clans in the UCA. And then as soon as like Exodus and 99th and Reconciliation and eventually UFCC joins, they start to cower or to goes missing for a very long time, and they're still missing to this day. And then UAE takes the reins of the Axis powers and brings in Aetherius, and then oh yeah, before that Aegis fell, I forgot about that. And Aegis literally like they were the main cause for this war, yet they were the first ones to get destroyed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
Now, for the roster of the UCA during this time, from like clans that were in it to the clans that ended, let's kind of give a brief. I guess let's just explain what clans were in there, and then we'll also explain what the Axis powers had. So initially, it started off with Advent and the UNE, right? Advent
Mm-hmm.
initially declared war on the Axis powers, which UNE was also in a close alliance with the Advent, in which we got involved. Later on, no, sorry, Aegis was we declared war on, and later on, Aegis pretty much brought in their allies as well. So the other clans that later on joined, we're just gonna. I'm gonna base. Oh, I'm getting off topic right now. We're basically gonna brief a list of what clans were in the UCA and Axis powers. So Do you kind of want to state what you know of for your knowledge?
Like from both sides in total or
Yes,
currently?
both sides in total.
So in total, the Axis Powers clans compose of Aegis, which is now destroyed, UAE, Orta, and Aetherius, which Aetherius ended up attempting to surrender the Axis Powers to the UCA, but they ended up ending as well. And then over on the UCA side, it started with Advent fell, started with UNE. UNE ended up merging into UFCC later in the conflict. UFCC was also in the UCA, and then we had 99th Regiment, Reconciliation, and Exodus. That was the UCA side.
I believe the Axis Powers also had the fairy tales for like 1 day as well.
Oh yeah, they had them for like a couple of hours. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna join the coalition." Oh yeah, we're not gonna join the coalition because we're scared as fuck. Yeah, I forgot about them. They were that was pretty funny.
All right. So in this current war right now, there is really nothing going on, and you're currently not
Yep.
part of it really at the moment as well, right?
Yeah, like the whether like either side likes to admit it or not, I was kind of like the negotiator for both sides since I was like okay with the Axis powers before the conflict, and really like I was the one that was able to set up so many raids because I was on such good terms with both sides, even though I was in Exodus and spitting out propaganda left and right. So I was able to negotiate all these raids and finalize the ROE and do all these things that put the war into motion. And now that I've left the conflict by leaving Exodus, I don't really see this war going too far anymore. There are some things that I'm not going to declassify at this moment that I know that are happening with the war, but I don't think I can definitely say that I don't think this is going to last. I could not. I don't see a very likely scenario where this war has another raid. So
All right.
yeah.
For this war, can you say it was one of the bigger wars in the community, especially for Halo 5?
For Halo 5, I definitely say it's the biggest war that Halo 5 has had so far.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about your departure from Exodus right now. What went on
All
exactly?
right. So, really, there wasn't too much wrong with Exodus. I mean, Exodus is a great clan and everything, and um, they honestly are probably still one of the best clans, if not like up there with Navcom as the best on Halo 5. Um, One of the reasons why I left Exodus was I really did miss having the authority, like to and it might sound a little power driven, but like to host raids because like I really missed the privilege of being able to host raids, and even though I was like technically scheduling the raids with the Axis powers and negotiating them, I wasn't actually like setting them up and organizing them. Like I'd like to go back to a system, which is why I'm starting up my clan Vast, or why I did start it up yesterday on the 27th, because I'm going back to the system where we wouldn't care who you are, what clan you are, how many members you are, how skilled you are. We will raid you, and we will raid you on any day. There's not going to be any restrictions. I'd just like to increase the activity levels all around. I'd like to create a clan that pretty much just does as much as possible, as many raids as possible, and creates a lot of activity not only for the community but for my clan itself. So I was interested in leading clans again because I missed the political aspect of things because I was a staff sergeant in Exodus and I couldn't really do too much politically officially, even though I still kind of did. But I missed having that position where I could actually give a final decision on things and not have to put it up to council because I'm heavily in support of dictatorship and like totalitarianism when it comes to the clans. Like it should be led by one leader, in my opinion. Even though Navcom was ran by a council, I would never be able to operate with a with a council. I mean, I was the in Plague, it was a flood-based clan, so I was the Grave Mind, so I pretty much controlled everything, every aspect of the clan, and I guess I was missing that. I suppose.
All right. So, for your clan right now, do you kind of have any future plans for it? Like any like wars, any like actual big plans for the community for your clan?
Definitely not any wars right now. I mean, if a clan code declares war on us, BA, we won't decline them. We're definitely going to accept any war challenges. I'm sure Fotis might try to surprise raid us, even though they won't ever come after us directly. I'm sure there's a couple people that hate me that will eventually come after me, but I'm not planning on entering any conflict or any war. We'll probably wait until somebody tries to do something against us, or when it comes to the time for us to declare war, we will. But definitely, I can't see or foresee a scenario where we're going to declare war on any clan at this point in time. But we will do a lot of raids, and we're going to be very active. I'm setting it up right now with a whole bunch of my leaders, and I'd like to have activity every day, whether it be external activity or internal activity. I just strive for something to do because I love doing raids and I love clans as they are.
All right. Let's. I believe the last thing I want to talk about is what plans do you have for your YouTube channel? Your YouTube channels, I would say.
So I did host a community meeting about this a little bit ago, but I do plan on eventually purchasing a graphic pack and a large amount of graphics, and eventually this summer I plan on doing it. I'm going to be uploading weekly or bi-weekly, I mean. So every other week I'm going to be uploading a community news video, which I'm going to be starting to do on my main channel. Um, I'm also going to be working on uh, more recruitment videos because we definitely need more recruitment videos in general to get more people into the community, not just people we already have. Um, I definitely I'm going to try to upload more raids, more commentary videos, and just generally, I'd like to increase the quality because what I've done in the past that I've just thrown together a 5-minute clip of me going negative on Halo while talking about bantering about like my thoughts about the community and like basically just going on rants. So I'd like to add some more visuals and make better thumbnails and attract better viewers. Kind of like how you're doing. How you're doing a lot better than I am when it comes to graphics and shit. But eventually, I'm gonna purchase it. I just don't have enough money right now because I bought a car. So I'll have to get that money sometime in the summer where I can purchase like UNR style quality graphics for a news channel that I plan on creating. But that's just my plans for my channel in the future.
All right. Is there any last statements you would like to say before we end this interview?
I'd like to say thanks for the interview. I know it was delayed a lot, very lot, and I know it took a while to get this set up. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and if you've watched it to the end, then comment and say that you did because I'm very impressed, and I didn't know that somebody would want to listen to me for that long. If you are interested in joining my brand new military clan Vast, we are currently enlisting. Just message me on Xbox, VAST space CONTAGION, Vast Contagion, or Z4BROS on Kick, and I will gladly enlist you into our beautiful new clan. That will be all for today.
All right. Thank you, Z4 or Vast Contagion, for joining me
Hell
on this
yeah.
interview. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like it up. Also, comment down below what your thoughts are on some of these topics that he talked about. I'm pretty sure that Z4 will check them out as well and maybe reply to some of the comments. But anyways, that is it for this interview. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll speak to you guys next time. Bye.
Bada bing, bada boom.